I miss my sister, and in today's video, we're going to be reading all books about sisters. So, I have an older sister. We're very close, and we've always been close growing up as kids, even though we did fight a whole lot when we were little. But several years ago, I moved to France, which is kind of the other side of the world. And now we don't really get to hang out in person very often, and I miss her. So we're going to be filling that hole in our hearts with a book. So in today's video, I'll be picking up books that talks about sisterhood or has main characters that are sisters and tell you if they're good or if they're not. So the first book that I'm going to be reading is Blue Sisters by Coco Mellers. This book was actually a gift from my sister who really loved reading this book. It's been on my TBR for a really long time, so I think this is the perfect opportunity to give it a try. Basically, it follows the story of Avery, Bonnie, and Lucky, who are grieving their sister, Nikki, who passed away a year ago. They are all doing different things in different parts of the world, but when their mother announces that she's planning to sell off their childhood home in New York, they all come to New York and find back each other. I've never read anything by Coco Mellers, so I am excited to give this a try, and will keep you updated on when I make the progress. So it's been a couple days and I've made about 100 pages of progress in Blue Sisters. I am loving this book. I love the writing style, I love the characters, and the story is also very engaging. And honestly, this is, I think, on its way to become like a 5-star read for the month. One of the things I really like so far is we have the 3 perspectives of the sisters, and each of them has a very distinct personality, a unique voice, and you have a different character at each chapter. So I think that's very cool and you're never bored. The writing style is also so beautiful, and that's something that I really enjoy when reading this book. So you can see from the way she describes things or situations that she's a very perceptive author and person. And it's really cool to see the world from her eyes. And I will keep you guys updated as I make progress in this book. So I just finished reading Blue Sisters, and my gosh, I loved this book. The writing was so incredibly beautiful. The characters were written with such compassion, and I loved all of them. And I just felt so much joy reading this book. I think this is a 5 out of 5 and could be my favorite book of the year. To me, it felt that good. It was such a good read. So firstly, I think her writing is incredibly beautiful and perceptive. I resonated with a lot of the things that were written here that I'd unconsciously experienced or thought, but had never really put into words or read as text, especially with Bonnie when she was talking about the training. Like, I've never done boxing in my life. That was also something cool to read about. But even though I've never done boxing, I have grown up training in ballets. So the topic of training and trying to be an athlete, that was something I found a lot that I could resonate with. And the characters are all so lovable, and you really feel like you want to support them. They definitely have their flaws. They're not written perfectly, and I think it's done in a very realistic way. And in the plot, you follow first their stories, like them living in different corners of the world, and each kind of struggling through grieving their sister that they lost a year ago in different ways, not in very healthy ways. And you see them coming back together, finding each other again after like half of the book. And it's really heartwarming to see the connection and relation they have with each other after like getting to know the individual characters throughout the first part of the book. Also, especially having a sister, the reading about the sisterhood was so special to me, and it was something I definitely enjoyed. Coco Mellors, you have a new fan. I love your writing, and I will read your backlist. So we're off to a great start with the video. This is the first book I read about sisterhood, 5 out of 5. And now we move on to the next. So the second book that I'm going to be picking up is I'm Sorry You Feel That Way by Rebecca Waite. So this book follows the story of Alice and Hannah, who are sisters. They are in this family who have a lot of troubles, and apparently there was this one thing that kind of changed the way their family is today, but we don't really know what it is. And as these two get into their 20s, they try to build back their relationship and I guess overcome whatever happened in the past. I actually already started this. I'm around 100 pages into the book. So far, it's okay. I don't think I like it too much. So first remark is that rather than focusing on the sisterhood, I feel like it is more about each of the characters' relationships with their parents. And each of the POVs that we've had so far has had like a rocky relationship with their mother, whether it be lack of attention and care or favoritism. I feel like that's the main topic so far. It's not that the writing style is bad. It is written in an intriguing way. It's just that the characters are quite like, there's something. They're not very likable. Please skip ahead if you don't want spoilers. I'll put like a mark here. But basically, like in one of the parts, one of the main characters, she steals her best friend's boyfriend, who was about to become her fiancé. So she is helping her best friend's boyfriend pick out a ring for their engagement. And she's like, why don't you marry me? Because I understand you better. I understand your career better. And then he's like, okay. And then they get engaged. And then like, obviously the best friend and her, they have a friendship breakup. And it's like, first of all, why would you do that to your best friend? It's like so awful. And second of all, like, why does the boyfriend say yes and then they suddenly get engaged? Like, what? What is going on? And just like things like this is like what the main character is like. And I mean, there are people who obviously like reading about hard characters to like, but for me, I feel like unless it's done very well, it just kind of feels annoying to read and follow their journey. So that's how I've been feeling so far. But I still have more than half of the book left, so I'm gonna try and read it and see if it gets any better and more interesting as we move forward. So I just finished reading I'm Sorry You Feel That Way. I am sorry that I read this book because I did not enjoy it at all. It's not that the writing is bad or anything, it's just that I didn't like any of the characters in the book, and quite frankly, I felt quite annoyed reading certain characters' POVs, and I know it's supposed to be that way, but just reading this for like 300, 400 pages was not really my cup of tea. It also took like at least 50% of the book to get into the main happenings of the plot and to get into the main juice of the story. I felt that was a bit too long as well. And also the climax of the story I felt was a bit underwhelming for me. The ending though. The ending I did like, and I thought that was done quite well, and it wrapped the story up in a nice way. But for the rest, I really didn't vibe with it. So I am going to give that a 2 out of 5 stars, unfortunately. It really just did not suit my taste. We will move on to the next book in the video and hopefully find a book that is more to my taste. So the third book that I'm going to be picking up is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I have been eyeing this book for the longest time. I've heard so many people talking really good things about this book, and I also see that it's very highly rated on Goodreads. So I'm very excited to give this a go. This story is, of course, following sisters as per the theme of the video, and it follows Vianne and Isabelle, who are in France during World War II. This is actually not the first book that I've read by Kristen Hanna. I read The Great Alone, which was based in Alaska, and I really enjoyed that book. It was very beautifully written. It wasn't really my favorite just because throughout the whole book, I felt like it was just constantly sad things happening that like towards the end, I started getting numb to like sad things. Like I should have felt more emotional when things happen, but just because everything has been going so badly, I'm like, yeah, of course, this really bad thing happens to this poor girl again. So that's why I didn't love it, but I still really enjoyed the writing. I still enjoyed the story. So I am excited to give The Nightingale a go. I'll keep you guys updated on how I find this book. So I just finished reading The Nightingale. I must admit that it has been so long since I last recorded the video. It's April 13th today, so I spent over like 2 weeks reading this book, but I absolutely love this book. It was so touching and it made me so emotional. Like the last 100 pages or so was such an emotional roller coaster. Like if you are going to read this, brace yourself because it is going to like destroy you emotionally. But it was so powerful. I think I really loved the part towards the end. I think they wrapped up the story in a very beautiful and powerful way. And I think this is a story that will really stick with me. So what I liked about this book was that the character exploration was done in a very thorough and intricate way. I really liked how all of the characters weren't like 2D characters. They all had a lot of depth. You could see them growing as the story unfolds. You see them having a lot of doubts about what choices to make. You see them becoming different people as the war goes on. And I think this character exploration was so interesting to read about. I think the first line of this book is quite famous, but the first line of the book says, "If I have learned anything in this long life of mine, it is this. In love, we found out who we want to be. In war, we find out who we are." And I think this is a pretty good description of what you can expect to see in the book. You see these people discovering who they are throughout the course of the war, and I think that's such an interesting exploration. You start to grow really fond of the two main characters of the book, so the two sisters, Isabelle and Vianne. And just because I have heard so many people talking about this book online, saying that it's gonna make you cry so much, it's gonna be so emotional, I was so scared, like reading this. I was like, I love these characters. Please, like, please don't let anything so bad happen to them. And it just, you know, you go through all of the emotions with them and you just, it's a tough ride, but I still really enjoyed reading this book. This is actually the first book that I've read on France during World War II, so there were some things that I learned throughout this book. And even though I really don't read a lot of historical fiction, I think I do really enjoy this genre. I love how it captures historical events through the eyes of someone and you experience it with them, so you understand how this event has really impacted people on a more micro level. I feel like it helps me understand better the context and the impacts of these events that you learn through, you know, school classes or through the news, whatever. I think it adds a lot of depth into the understanding of what went on. And so I think I'll try and pick up maybe some other historical fiction books throughout the year. So let me know if you have any recommendations for that. And I give this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I really recommend you give this a go if you haven't read it yet. So those were all the 3 books that I read about sisters. And I think the takeaway is books writing about sisterhood tend to slap, because I found a 5-star book and a 4.5-star book out of this video. So I think I will pick up more books about sisterhood because I really enjoy these stories. I hope you got some good recommendations out of this video, and thank you so much for watching until the end. Stay tuned for the next video. Bye!